Hello everyone. As Joy says, I'm Giacomo, and I work as a software development manager for a tech company. And this evening I would like to share briefly with you my experience with stress and anxiety at work. But first, let me ask you, if you have been so overwhelmed by stress at work that it started to have an impact on your personal life, or even brought you to think about seriously to leave your job? Well, if the answer is yes, let me tell you that you are not alone. Workplace stress is a significant issue that affects millions of people worldwide. A recent research in UK also showed that almost 80% of UK employees say they really would like to consider to leave their job because of a high level of stress. And I also had to wrestle with stress and anxiety through all my career. I do love my job. I do love my job because it's bringing together two things I really like: the technical part, but also the opportunity to mentor and coach other people. And I have to say that also as an engineering manager, working under pressure is a sort of a constant. And I always love to take new challenges. But in the last few years, I actually came to know the difference between pressure and stress. Working under pressure, I have to say, and I think it's good sometimes. It can really push you to do your best work. It can help you to learn new things, and it can also focus your mind to achieve great results. But stress is different. And it also has a different impact on your life. It is overwhelming, something that you cannot really control. And it can also lead to anxiety and burnout. And it actually led me to anxiety and burnout. I actually started hating my job. And it removed any excitement from those challenges that typically were bringing fun and variety to my day. Instead, my mind became so fixated on problems that I struggled to enjoy what I was doing at work, but as well as outside work. It had also negative impacts on my emotions and my body, and led me to also experience sometimes panic attack. It also affected my relationship with colleagues, friends, family. I became less engaged and communicative. I wasn't really there, always lost in my own thoughts about problem at work, all the what ifs, how can I solve all the issue I'm going through. And I vividly recall a specific period when multiple challenges at work converged together. I was working with my team on a very complex and long operational event that was impacting many customers. And to be honest, we were at a loss in terms of solution. We didn't know how to solve the problem. We were operating a sort of a reactive mode. And during that time, during my one-to-one with my team, every team members, one after another one, they started sharing me their frustration. Giacomo, we cannot work this way. They were sharing that, they were feeling exhausted in firefighting, in working this reactive mode. And they started looking at me, Giacomo, you need to solve this situation. And I felt responsible for what they were going through, for what we were going through, and also responsible. I felt also powerless because I didn't know how to change. I didn't know what to do. And to add more, during that week, one of my top team members in one of the one-to-one, he decided to resign, leaving me on my own to deal with one of the most important projects. And on top of that, I also had other documents and side project that I was running late because because of these constant streams of work. And so I remember one day while I was in the office, I suddenly felt overwhelmed and my breathing became heavy, my vision blurred, and I was overcome with an urge to just run away. And I actually did. I went outside and I broke down in tears. I felt lost and I didn't know what to do. It was like everything was falling apart, and I could not see a way out of it. I'm wondering if you ever been in a similar situation and how did you handle it? I would like to share with you tonight two things that really helped me dealing with stress and anxiety. These two things are two truths. They are really grounded in my faith in God. And I've learned to keep these two truths, reminding myself of these two truths, embrace them, and also appropriate them enough to find rest in them. And the first one is that when I'm dealing with stress and anxiety, I'm not alone. Why? Because God is with me. I found great comfort in reading all the promises that God made to all the people across the history. There is promises about His presence and about His help. There is a special book in the Bible called the Psalms, where you can read reflection from people like me and you. They were dealing with the real life struggles and how they expressed their emotion to God while they were experiencing these life's ups and downs. And I was really encouraged by their stories and their testimonies. It showed me how God can be with you even when things are really tough. No matter what they were going through, whether it was a really dark time or it was something that seemed impossible, God was right there with them. And knowing that God was with me gave me so much strength, joy, and peace. I realized that I was not alone anymore when I had to go and join a very stressful meeting at work. I was not alone anymore when I had to work on a project with tight deadlines. I was not alone anymore when I had to join an escalation call at 2 a.m. in the morning. God was right there with me. Stress and anxiety can push you to feel isolated and alone. But right in the middle of the difficulties, I found hope in God's promise to remain with me in everything. And then nothing could separate me from Him, from His love. And this brings me to the second truth, that God is not just with me, but He is interested in me. He cares about me because He loves me. God is interested in my life. God is interested in my job. And guess what? God is interested in what it was causing me stress and what was making me anxious. There is a beautiful passage in the Bible that really helped me to understand this better. This passage was brought by a person, Paul, that faced significant stress and anxiety in his life. While he was writing this passage, he was actually in a prison because of his faith. But this did not stop him to write this letter to his friends to encourage them, because they were going through a really difficult and hard time. And he wrote to these friends, friends, remember, Jesus is with you right there where you are. So do not be anxious about anything. But whatever is your situation, whatever you are going through, whatever is causing you to be stressed or anxious, bring everything to Jesus. And do another thing. Receive what Jesus is giving you, His peace. A peace that can really protect your heart and your mind. And I've learned that instead of listening to what my anxiety was telling me, things like, Giacomo, this is impossible. Giacomo, you're not the right person for the job. Giacomo, you will be a failure if you cannot fix this. Giacomo, you are letting your team, your manager, your company down. Well, I've learned, instead of listening to what my anxiety was telling me, I've learned to talk about my anxiety to God in prayer. To talk about what was making me anxious to God. This relationship with God, by reading His promises and reminding myself His promises, and then communicating to Him what was making me anxious, this relationship enabled me to remind myself a different story than what my anxiety was telling me about myself, my job, and all the situation around me. And this story does not focus on all the difficult issues they are in front of you or in front of me at work. All issues that are so big, they seem too big or impossible to solve. No, this story focuses on a person, Jesus. A story that enabled me and still enables me every day to know Him, to know this person more and more. A story that reminds me continually that Jesus is not a remote or distant God. He's not an impersonal force. No. He wants to be involved in our world. He wants to be involved in my life. He wants to be involved in my workplace, in all my challenges, responsibilities. He knows what is stressful. He knows what is causing me to be anxious, and He cares for me, and He wants to give me peace to face everything. And let me tell you, He did, and He does it today as well. Jesus has not given me a stress-free life. Unfortunately, I think that on this side of the heaven, this is not possible. But through a relationship with Him, He gives me peace by knowing that He is with me there at work, and He cares about what I'm doing. He wants to be involved in what I do because He loves me. Thank you.